Here's our learning target again. I can use facts about vertical angles, adjacent angles, and linear pairs to solve problems. So we are now with our warm-up. So you should be into the second video now. And this is our warm-up that we're going to be doing. So let's get started. Simplify each expression. So we know an expression doesn't have hey, if you know the difference between an equation and an expression, you can send that to me so you can earn house points. So again, if you know the difference between an equation and an expression, you can send that to me in a private message, or you can put it on the wall. It doesn't matter, but you'll get house points for that, for participating in that. So let's look at each expression. We need to simplify it, make it as simple as possible. And there's a few different rules that we know about when it comes to equations. So one rule that we know about is we know about combining like terms. And we said that was similar to like being in the same family. So let's look at this, and we're going to change the color of this text so it's black. So combining like terms, which we said was like being in the same family. So let's look at A and let's see if there's any terms that would be considered in the same family. They have exactly the same structure. So I can look here. I got 3x. I have a plus. Remember, I like to keep the sign with the number, a plus 4x. This 7 doesn't have an x, so I wouldn't put that in there. And this minus 2 doesn't have an x. So I'm going to use a different color for those, because both of those go in the same family because they're just numbers. They're constants. So now to simplify this expression, I put together the orange ones and I put together the purple. So I have 3x plus 4x. 3x plus 4x is going to give me 7x. I'm going to use a different color. Use blue for our answer. So 7x. And then I have 7 positives and 2 minus 2. So 7 positives take away 2. So what's 7 minus 2? That is plus 5. I'll have 5 positives left. And that is it. That's as far as I can simplify that down. So that's my answer for that one. Oops, I need to go back. I did not tell you to move forward. I just selected the wrong thing. I'm going to get a little closer. There we go. Let's move on to the next one. All right. What is the other strategy that we have learned? The other math skill that we have learned is not really a strategy. It's a skill. When I see a number right outside, of some parentheses, there's no plus sign, there's no minus sign, nothing like that. This is multiplication. Okay, I see this number right outside the parentheses. You should be thinking about that rainbow that we draw, and this is the distributive property. So let's add that up here. Distributive property. I'm gonna put rainbow at the end so we know what we're talking about here. So let's simplify this. These are the 2 ways you're going to be able to simplify. Let's simplify this. So like I said, we got rainbow. We know that's where we start. We're going to start with our parentheses. If we have parentheses, we see if what's in the parentheses can be combined. They can't, because one is a variable and one is a constant. And then after that, we see if we can do distributive property. So I can. So there we go. So we have -2 times x, which will give you a -2x And then I have -2 times a, see that -7? So -2 times a -7 or a -7. A negative times a negative is a positive. So 2 times 7 is 14. So you're kind of thinking of it in two pieces. A negative times a negative is a positive. That tells me my sign. And then 2 times 7 is 14. And then I just bring down the +3. Okay? So we've done distributive property, and now we're going to go back to our combining like terms if we can. Okay. So I'm going to pick a different color to draw with. We're still learning about things. So I have a -2x plus 14 plus 3. Well, there's no more terms that have an x, so that's by itself. But I have this plus 14, and I have plus 3. So I can put those together. So my final answer is going to be, and I'm going to write it over here, and I'll write it in blue, -2, oh, that's too close, I'm sorry. I don't like that. So my answer for this one is going to be -2x, and then 14 plus 13, and they're both positive, so plus 17. Good. All right. And I'm going to circle my answer as well. So these are my final answers. It's good practice to circle your answers. I didn't like how I circled that one. There we go. That was a little better. Okay, let's move on to the next one. If you saw this and immediately thought, okay, we need to be doing the distributive property and things like that, then you are absolutely right. So what you can do here is you can pause the video and you can try these on your own and see how you do with them. And that's just for C, D, E, F. So pause the video here, and then I'm about to run straight through these so that you can see how quickly they can be done. Again, I'm gonna set a timer up. I'm gonna start my timer now. So 4 plus 3 is 7, and 7 minus 5 is positive 2, and positive 2 minus 1 is 1. So I'm left with just x plus 2. And the last one, there's nothing outside this parentheses, there's nothing outside this parentheses, so I can just bring everything down. 10 minus 4x minus 7x minus plus 2, because I have to treat, I apologize, I do have to treat that as a negative 1. So negative 1 times a positive 7x makes a negative 7x, and negative 1 times a negative 2 is a positive 2. Okay, that's how I got that. Like terms, I have the t in here, I have a 2 here. I have a negative 4x and a negative 7x. 10 plus 2 is 12. Negative 4x and a negative 7x, I put them together. Our answer stays negative because we're adding and subtracting. So my answer stays negative. And 4 and 7 is 11x. All right. Stop my timer. Oh. I've run into an issue. Come on, timer. I lost a lot of time, so it took me 4 minutes to do those problems. Probably would have took me would have went faster, but because of all of my moving around on this computer, it's taking me a little longer, but about 4 minutes. All right, let's delete that. Let's bring back the other screen. Remember, if you have any questions, anything you need, please let me know. All right, I'm gonna clear all of that off. So if you need to see the answers again, please just rewind. All right, so now we got Brian and Lars. So you know we're gonna mark our text. Remember, that's important when we're doing word problems, to mark your text. Okay, so we circled numbers. Box, important words, and we underline question. So mark your text, circle numbers, box important words, underline the question. You remember how to do this. So let's get it done. Brian enlarged his 4-inch by 6-inch picture of the St. Louis Arch to make a poster. He kept the same length to width ratio on his enlargement. Brian used 52 inches as the length of the shortest side. What's the area of the poster? So wow, they asked us a lot. So I'm gonna start with underlining my question. What is the area of the poster? Because if I understand my question, I can go back and pick out the information I need. So the area, I know that area, so now I'm gonna think about area. Area is length times width. Length, that's an L, times width. Okay, equals area. And so now I gotta figure out what pieces I need. What's the area of his poster? So we already know, so they wanna know the area of this enlarged poster, not the poster that he started with, but the new poster. So here's something. He used 52 inches for the length of the shortest side. So I do know that, so that helps me. I I know the length, but I don't know the width. How could I figure that out? Well, it says he kept the same length to width ratio for the enlargement. So I'm a box that. Same length to width ratio. Ratios, I remember ratios, that was the beginning of the year, okay? That meant that we could write it in fraction form, we could write it with a colon, we can write it with the word to. And we also learned about this enlargement. So Brian enlarged his 4x6 picture. Okay, so he enlarged this picture. So let's see if we can create a ratio to figure out our missing side. So we're missing, let's write this in there. So you know the length, which was 52. But what you don't know is W. Okay? We can set up this ratio. Because they gave us length to width ratio, we know the length went first. So the 4 inches was the length and the 6 inches was the width. We don't need to guess that. We don't need to think that they're going to trick us. So let's write that out. 4 to 6 equals, okay, and we said the 4 inches goes with the length, and the 6 inches is going to go with the width. Okay, and they gave us this. So let's put that down here. So 52 goes on the top because it's the length. And when we don't know a value, what do we put? If you know what you're supposed to put when you don't know the value for house points, go ahead, send that to me in a message, send that to me on the wall. All right, so let's solve for this ratio. To solve for ratios, we cross multiply. So you should be cross multiplying. So here we go. 4 times x, 6 times 52. So here we go. So now I have 6 times 52. We know that dot means multiplication, equals 4x. Okay, what is 6 times 52? Well, you can use your calculator, you can do it in your head, you can do it off on the side. I'm going to do it off on the side. So 52, I can do it in my head, but I figure we're working together. Let's do it off on the side. 6 times 2 is 12. Carry my 1. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 1 is 31. So I should have 312. I'm using a different color. Show them on a different line. 312 equals 4x. And what am I supposed to do? My goal is to isolate the variable. When you see a number next to a variable, that right there is multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So let's divide each side by, if you said 4, you got it. If you got this done already, great. If you don't, that's okay. All right, so now I need to know, well, this cancels out and I'm left with x. X equals, I'm down here in this corner, guys. So what is 312 divided by 4? 312 goes inside the house and we're divided it by 4. Can 4 go into 3? No, it cannot. Can 4 go into 31? Yes, it can. How many times? It can go in there 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. And 31 take away 28. So I can do this a few different ways. I can count up using fingers. I can use borrowing, things like that. So I know 28 is 3 away from 31. Bring down the 2. How many times can 4 go into 32? 8 times. 8 times 4 is 32. And 32 minus 32 is 0. So that missing number that we were missing is actually 78. So I'm going to do 52 times 78, and I will have the area of his poster. Okay, so what is 52 times 78? You can use a calculator, or you can do it on the side like I'm doing. 8 times 2 is 16, carry the 1. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 1 is 41. 7 times 2 is, and I have to bring down the 0 as a placeholder, okay, because I was in the ones place. Now I'm in the tens place, so I need to bring down that 0. So 7 times 2 is 14, carry the 1. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 1 is 36. Make sure you line your numbers up correctly. 6 and 0, 1 and 4, 4 and 6, and then there's nothing with this 3. So that would be a 0. So 6 plus 0 is 6. 1 plus 4 is 5. 4 plus 6 is 10. So bring down the 0, carry the 1. And 1 plus 3 is 4. So the area for this is 4,056. And this is all about pushing through, persevering, things like that. Math, it takes some pushing through and some persevering. As you see, I had to do multiple steps. I marked my text. I had to first find out what my goal was. My goal was to find the area, and this is the equation I need. But I was missing a piece. How could I figure out that piece I'm missing? Well, they told me about a ratio. I remember ratios. I have to remember how to set it up. I set it up. I solved for the missing variable and found out that X was 78. I didn't put that down here. Bad, Ms. Robinson. That X is 78. Okay, so now that I know what X is, so instead of this question mark, you could have put W, or you could have put whatever variable, but that was the thing I didn't know. Okay. All right, so there's one more warm-up question. I'm gonna clear all my drawings. Leanna solved the equation below. Explain what she did wrong and then find the correct solution. This one is gonna be one of those bonus questions. So if you watch this whole wrap up and you made it down here, if you can do this and tell me what she did wrong, then you are gonna be entered into the raffle for this week, which nobody participated last week, to get lunch on Friday. So if you're interested in that, then you're gonna do this on paper. You can send me a picture of it, and it'll enter you into the raffle for lunch on Friday, right? All right, let's move on.